This organization was started because of a lack of what the VA is currently doing to help veterans. My story is that I served 21 years in the Army, and I did a couple deployments overseas. And the second deployment was a long 16-month deployment, and I was an infantry officer in Afghanistan. I brought every single one of my soldiers home alive, and that was back in 2008. Thank you. And so 2008, I came back. I retired in 2013. I did 21 years. And about that time, friends of mine that I served with slowly started taking their lives. At first you start seeing this, and it's affecting you personally, and it's happening around you versus reading it in the newspaper or on TV or internet or whatever that is. And then the second one happens, and the third one, and fourth one, and then fifth one. And I started thinking to myself, I've got to do something. I've got to try to create a little bit of ripple in this world and in the veteran community. And so I started thinking about what I was going to do, what I was going to call it. And I run a local business, and so I kind of forgot about what it's like to start a business again. And you got to start from the very basics. You got to create a company name, you got to create a logo, you've got to get it, everything with the Corporation Commission taken care of. You've got to deal with the IRS, which is a challenge in itself. We are a 501c3 organization, so it was a little challenge getting things started. And I was slow at the draw a little bit because I was running a business. And a friend of mine and his wife asked me about building a house up here in Cave Creek, actually. And we came up here and had breakfast, and he mentioned a few things about things he was struggling with. I was deployed with him in Afghanistan. Coincidentally, his initials are exactly the same as mine. Just a weird coincidence, but about a month later, he took his life, and it was absolutely shocking to me. To hear the conversation we had a month before was, I'm struggling a little bit. I'm trying to deal with the VA on certain things and claims getting denied and what have you, and we were deployed in different parts of Afghanistan, so we each saw different pieces of action, dealt with different things. And so I was completely shocked when he took his life. I thought to myself, my God, at first, it's probably just a normal human reaction, but I thought to myself, like, what could I have done better? What could I have reached out more? What could I have done to make an impact? And so I had this little bit of guilt and blame, and it was going on for a while. And it was, unfortunately and fortunately, it was the catalyst that pushed me over the edge. And I think that as a veteran who served, there is this survivor's guilt that happens when you come back alive and you've seen people killed in action or witness things or the results of being hit with an IED and things like that. So you have to deal with that aspect alone, and even that is what I would consider post-traumatic stress. And so everybody deals with it differently, and everybody compartmentalizes it differently. And the human body doesn't understand the difference between being in a car accident, being in combat. Trauma is trauma at the end of the day, and how it gets handled and how it gets compartmentalized or dealt with or managed is probably a better term, is something that we face as veterans. And a lot of times there's this suit of armor that we tend to wear, and it's hard to pierce that and get into a veteran's head and try to help them, because we go through basic training, boot camp, all these different things, and we're taught to suck it up and drive on. We're told to not be weak, and we're not which it's required for when you're in combat. You need to have that mentality and that mindset to get through when you're being attacked and things like that. And just out of curiosity, how many veterans do we have here tonight? Awesome. Thank you for your service as well. And the wives, the spouses, and the families that all support the veterans as well is one of those that are the unsung heroes that don't get mentioned a lot. So thank you for all of you that were part of somebody's deployments or their experience in the military. So I started Freedom for Heroes, and I had absolutely no idea what I was getting into. I just knew I wanted to help. And so I based it on 3 pillars, and we decided that because veterans can be so hard-nosed and so stubborn, and they wear that coat of armor, like, how do I get around that? And if you come right at a veteran and you say, hey, I know you were probably deployed, whether you're an infantry guy or a cook or whatever, truck driver, you probably experienced something. And if you come straight at a veteran, the first thing they're probably going to do is, I'm good, like, leave me alone. And so I thought to myself, how can I create a backdoor approach to helping? And so I thought to myself, well, I'm going to create some pillars that the organization is founded upon. And one of them is outdoor adventures. And I thought that, one of the things that's missing from whether you retire from the military or you get out of the military or, you come off a deployment and you're trying to transition into civilian life, it's that community, that tribe, that, the band of brothers feeling that you tend to lose. And that is really, really hard to replace when you're, quote unquote, in the trenches with whomever. I can't tell you the 45 guys that I was deployed in Afghanistan in 2007 and 8, I still talk to them. They're still struggling with certain things. So this is an epidemic, whether we want to call it that or not. It is a problem that the VA has gotten a lot better, but there's still a ton of shortcomings. And fortunately, there's a lot of organizations out there that want to help. And so I've created this backdoor approach, like, hey, let's get together for Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday out in the woods. I kind of call it get your goods in the woods. And so we'll bring, about 15 people at a time. We did an event up in Payson. We've got another event next weekend in Sedona. And they'll come out, and it's amazing that 15 people who don't know each other, we give them tents, we supply them with sleeping bags, everything. And that's all done through donations. And I sit back and I watch them. They all help each other set their tents up in the woods, and they're talking with each other and working with each other and introducing themselves to each other. And then, of course, you introduce food to it, and everybody just gets even more excited. And all of our events have no alcohol or drugs or anything like that, so we try to keep it super clean. And then through the cooking or through the eating, and then cleaning up, everybody's working together and just getting to know each other. And then we try to introduce what we call a campfire chat, and that's just veterans just sitting down together, just having a conversation. And it's absolutely amazing how when you can get one to talk and be vulnerable, all of a sudden the floodgates open and people want to open up and they want to talk. And that's where the healing happens. Because, listening to them tell their stories, it doesn't matter what they were in the military. Just letting them speak and be heard goes such a long ways. And then we always have a fun aspect to it. We can't have such a heavy weekend, so we introduce hiking. We do some rappelling. We had a 69-year-old woman rappel off of a 12-foot cliff in Payson, and she was just absolutely elated. She was running around high-fiving everybody, and she was scared to death to start. And her husband's a Marine and she's Army, so there's always that rivalry, if you will, that we have fun with each other. But and then they have their own separate outdoor adventure company, and so they help me facilitate it because it is a lot of work to try to create, these weekends and the logistics and all these things. And the one gentleman is a retired firefighter, and he's dealing with post-traumatic stress on the firefighter and the police officer side. So he's already helping them heal as well. So it was just this great connection that I made. And so we're doing the hikes, we're doing things like mindfulness exercises. Like he literally was doing breathing exercises out on these rocks while the creek's flowing in the background. And we did some yoga. He introduced some meditation. And at first, a veteran's like, I'm not doing this. Like this isn't what we do, right? And I will tell you a story about a month ago. And I just randomly reach out to these people that come to the events, and I just ask them, hey, how you doing? Is there anything I can help you with? And one particular guy responded back to me and he said, I'm not doing so good right now. I've got a lot of, work stress. I got anxiety. I'm dealing with post-traumatic stress. But he's like, I want to tell you something. He goes, I thought when we went to Payson and you guys introduced this mindfulness, I didn't even know what that meant. And we did those breathing exercises out on the rocks. And he said that has absolutely helped me get through these last couple of months. Now, I'm not saying he's suicidal or anything like that, but just to hear that healing from somebody goes such a long ways. And I'm also, this past week, I've, unfortunately had to deal with somebody for the first time that has been suicidal. And so it's really, really helped force me to pour into them. And it's something I've never dealt with before. I'm not any mental health expert by any means, but being there as a friend and By the way, I just met this guy on Facebook. I was posting something and he just said, I need help. Through a Facebook chat, turned into a text, turned into a phone call, and then multiple texts this week. And I don't know this guy from Adam. Haven't met him in person yet. I plan on it, but just trying to talk him through some things this week. I think at the end of the day, he said to me, the only thing that I really appreciate the most is just somebody listening to me. So you just don't know how you're going to affect somebody's life. You don't know how you're going to change their trajectory and where they're at in their life. And we're all in different points. Like everybody compartmentalizes post-traumatic stress. And by the way, I don't call it a disorder because I don't feel like it is natural for human beings to go into combat and kill each other. It's not something that should be a normal thought process. Fight or flight might have been running from lions, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, but I don't consider it a disorder if there's when you got that kind of trauma, that's stuff that has to be worked through. We need a support network. And that's why I started this organization. One of the other pillars is expert guidance, which helps pair veterans up with veteran service or officers that will help them file claims, because that is one of the biggest shortcomings of the VA. It's literally you're guilty until you're proven innocent. It's unfortunately the amount of paperwork and what they require from you is absolutely ridiculous. And I've had my own experience with my back, and I've been denied twice now, and I wore body armor for 2 years straight. And I've got back issues, and so anyways, so that's kind of how the organization is founded. And we have a fishing tournament tomorrow night at Lake Bartlett, and that's going to be Friday night and all day Saturday. And we've got, I think we have 15 boat captains coming out to take these veterans out on the water. We've got a veteran chef that's doing all the cooking, and just multiple people volunteering. And it's just a great thing for a veteran just to have a fun day on the water. And we'll do that campfire chat tomorrow night too. And I always make it, hey, if you don't want to do this, if you don't feel comfortable with it, just walk away, take a walk down the road or whatever. And my company built 6 houses for severely wounded veterans through another nonprofit called Jared Allen's Homes for Wounded Warriors. And that helped me transition out of the military because I immediately fell into that. It was good for me. It was healing for me. We were the very first house we built for them, for a soldier he was missing 3 limbs. That's how severely wounded these soldiers are. So to be able to give back in that community as well was just a great thing. And all of this is healing for me as well. And it's healing for the other veterans that are a part of it. I have veterans that volunteer and help. And so it's just great for them to give back in certain ways as well. A friend of mine who's the right-hand man to Jared Allen, he said to me a long time ago, and it just still to this day resonated with me. If you asked 100 people, do they support veterans? 100 of them will absolutely, emphatically, with full conviction say, yes, we do. But if you ask somebody how they do this, you might get a little bit of a blank stare. And I will tell you that you don't have to wear a uniform to serve. And so my ask tonight is that if you want to support our organization, I've got some cards on the table with a QR code on there that you can donate to. And just to give you an idea, to put a veteran through the fishing weekend, tomorrow night and all day Saturday, it's about $150. To put them through a full weekend like Sedona or the Payson event, it's about $1,200. One meal is probably about $15 to $20. So anything will help. And so my ask is just that if you feel it in your heart, you want to give tonight to our organization, you will get a tax deduction form that comes with that. So we are, like I said, we are a full 501c3 organization. And, I'd greatly appreciate a little bit of help if you could possibly reach out and do that for us. I appreciate the opportunity just to get up here and talk and just being able to do this from the point of where I'm at in my own life. I'm just so glad to be able to give back. And thanks to the veterans that are here and the families that have supported that. If there's any questions, I'm going to be here all night. But I appreciate everybody listening. Thank you.